Good afternoon, Yellow Army, and welcome to another edition of Inside Plainmoor. Here's what the gaffer had to say this week. Good afternoon, Gary. Last week I did promise you that I wouldn't ask you how your week's been, so I trust you're still keeping well there?
Oh yeah, that's terrible. I just wrote down what I've done all week. No, everything's fine, mate. And what was the question?
That was it, really.
Hopefully all our supporters are still well. You know, we've survived this long, all of us. Then hopefully, as the numbers come down that are affecting people, i.e. the coronavirus pandemic, then the less chance you've got of getting it, I suppose. But we've still got to stay vigilant because we want our season to start, and we don't want it to finish up too quickly because there's a bit of a peak. So we've still got to stay alert, as they say.
Absolutely, and can't echo those thoughts enough, Gary, that we hope everybody is keeping well at home. Now, I understand you enjoyed what was a virtual curry night this week with a number of Torquay supporters. That must have been something of a first, wasn't it, Gary?
It was definitely a first. I think, is it the Golden Eye? They normally has it. What was it?
Eastern Eye, I believe.
Oh, Eastern Eye. Oh, right. Okay, then. Well, they got even more publicity than that. Yeah, Eastern Eye, and I think they invited people to have a curry meal. My one's still on its way, I think, because I never received my one in Bristol. But anyway, but looking by the smile on the faces of the people that were on the Zoom, they obviously enjoyed their meal, and it was a good evening. It was a nice evening because, like all these evenings, you always have to, you think about charities, don't you? And it was, I think, a fiver of every person's, what they paid for the meal actually went to Rowcroft Hospice, which is lovely. It's nice to do that. And it was unusual. It was a quiz. Dave Thomas had a quiz. It was all about Torquay. The only ones I got right were the ones that I knew were about me. And I did say at the end that he threw me a little bit because when he was on the phone telling me about it, I thought he said it was a curry night, and I'd brushed up on my Coronation Street stuff. But it was good. There were some good questions, and it was unusual, to say the least. But it worked very well. The questions were good, and I think everybody, by the sound of it, enjoyed it, which is nice, and I enjoyed it.
Good. Well, good on you, Gaffer, and good on the Eastern Eye and Torbay Weekly and Dave Thomas. For that.
Sorry about the Golden Eye bit, but wasn't that Sir Francis Drake's ship or something? No, that was a Golden Hind, wasn't it? Well,
maybe next time, whoever it is, you might actually get your curry.
That's right, yeah. I might have one tonight because it's just made me feel like one. Go on, mate.
Now, there has been quite a bit of action in football circles this week, particularly in the lower leagues. Now, with the National League, as we've been talking over the last few weeks, set to take its lead from the EFL and in particular Leagues 1 and 2, it was therefore with some interest, Gary, that we learnt earlier in the week that both Leagues 1 and 2 are going to be decided on a points per game method, with the playoffs still to come, which obviously has implications for Exeter City, our local rivals, and promotion and relegation based on those amended standings. What were your thoughts on that decision, Gary?
Well, as time went on, the decisions got more and more difficult for the authorities, with everybody sort of having different ideas. And as myself and you discussed very, very early on in our Zoom meetings, we felt we just had to wait because we could only follow anyway the EFL and where they decided to go, because if they had relegation, then we would have promotion, and so on and so forth. So, and that's exactly how it looks like. That we're, I think, only one team at the moment. Teams, all the clubs in the National League are voting on an ordinary resolution, they call it, and it's an unweighted points per game system. that is the sort of final placings, if you like. So if that's the case, it means, and people vote for this resolution, which obviously I think they've got till Monday, Tuesday to put their votes in. Then it will mean Barrow going up. It will mean Harrogate, Barnet, Yeovil, Notts County, Bournemouth and Halifax. It will mean that there'll be the teams. Harrogate and Notts County will be in the semi-final, second and third. Yeovil will play Barnet. Bournemouth will play Halifax. The winner of Yeovil Barnet will play Notts County, and the winner of Bournemouth Halifax will play Harrogate for the second spot. They have indicated that Chorley will be the team. One team goes down because they're bringing up, or the proposal is to bring up Wealdstone and Kings Lynn. York have had a big disappointment because they were top of the league, but on the points per game, Kings Lynn have jumped them. Chorley obviously have got to be really disappointed as well themselves. Just the fact that they have ended up bottom, and they will be going down again if everybody votes for that. So we'll have to wait and see. But there's some real unlucky clubs, really. Chorley being the only one in the league when it might have been 3 or 4, previously. So the lucky ones were the ones just above Chorley. Who was that? Fylde, Maidenhead. Who was the other team?
Ebbsfleet.
Sorry?
Ebbsfleet.
Yeah, Ebbsfleet, yeah. Although there might have only been 3 go down had we not had the coronavirus. So it's good for Wealdstone and Kings Lynn. I think they've got their own meetings, so I'm not sure about playoffs I don't think there'll be playoffs in the north and south. So as I say, the resolution has been given out to all the clubs. How lucky, were Wickham in that scenario? They were 8th, I think. How unlucky was my old club, Peterborough? Yeah. Barry Fry and Darren McAntony, they're not shy, are they, in coming forward? And, they've expressed their disappointment, which, again, I understand. Tranmere, that was unlucky, a game in hand, I think, and a point behind. Stockport, who Barnet took their place. So, there's lucky teams and there's unlucky teams, but there was always going to be that, whatever happened. So, but now they've decided that the thing that I was really pleased with when I was speaking to George, because George obviously attended the Zoom meeting, was that George said he felt that the National League, along with the FA representative, were absolutely and totally positive about this resolution, and positive about the starting date, the hopes and dreams of all that. And the National League was very much a part of those talks. We certainly are in the thoughts of the FA, the EFL as a national league. So that was good. And it was so important to keep the scenario of where it would have been without the virus, if we could, because we didn't want to be cast aside and forgotten about by the leagues above us. We want to stay in that system, so that if we go up, you go into the football league. So it was, it was good that George said it was a very positive meeting, and so it looks like they haven't given a date yet, but it looks like the season, as we've been saying all along, will probably be around early September time. There'll be the games, which means our lads will come back late July, early August, which they'll be buzzing about when they hear that. And the most important thing is it looks like there's a possibility, if this all goes through, that there's some way that they'll have spectators watching the games. Now, whether that's a percentage of your capacity in your stadium, because there's still social distancing, we'll have to wait and see. But I don't think anybody really wants to play without. We all want to play, but you know, you've got to have supporters there as when it's safe to do so. And it looks like that's getting a little bit closer, which is really exciting.
Yeah, it does sound much more positive. Still some way to go yet, and like you've just said, Gary, it's not all set in stone yet. But just a couple of things. Are you surprised that they've gone ahead with the playoffs in leagues 1, 2, and presumably in the National League, rather than just saying, okay, well, whoever finished 3rd or 4th joins them?
I think that to keep to the constitution, is it, you know, like the rules and regulations, and I think they've tried as much as possible in times like these. You try and stick to the rules where you can, because you can't just change a rule for the sake of it. So I think there's a lot of legal jargon that, you know, people have to look through. So I think now they've decided to do it, the playoffs, and now we've all got that sort of vote to do that. And at this stage, it looks like we're coming out of the, you know, the numbers of the virus. We're still not safe, as we said before, but these games won't be played for a few weeks yet. You know, those National Conference playoff teams have got to get back training. They've got to go through all the stages of, you know, non-contact, contact, all that sort of thing. So it won't be for a little while, but they obviously feel, and they've obviously got government approval, that if it carries on the way it is, it would be safe enough to play these playoffs, and presumably they'll be played at the stadiums of the teams. So they try to, I think, keep it as normal as possible, which is great, because it means they've done a bit of homework on whether at that moment in time when they're played, that it will be safer. So we keep our fingers crossed for that.
And it's important to remember, isn't it, in situations like this, that there's never going to be a method that's going to keep everybody absolutely happy. There's always going to be some teams that are going to feel hard done by, aren't there?
Yeah, well, you look at the National League teams, North and South. You know, we were lucky enough to have won the league and last year, but if you'd have come, you know, 2nd this year and 3rd, 4th, you know, the playoff teams this year have had, 30 odd games and not got anything out of it, sort of thing. You know, so you know, if that happens and the National South and National League don't have playoffs, then, you know, they're going to be very disappointed as well. So, but when you look at it, it could be that, you know, most teams will be understanding of the new resolution that people have put out. We just needed to know where we were going, so that, you know, nice and quick, so that we can all plan for the future. You know, obviously, our board of directors have got to look at, if they do allow people in for September games, then how do you have a reduced capacity? Where do you put people? We know that families, for instance, can sit together, can't they? You know, if somebody's in your bubble, then you know, so you might be able to get more in it. So there's lots of things that, you know, George and Mel and Clark have to think about so that they're going to need the time to work out if they're the rules of so much % of your capacity, then got to work out where to put people and still stay safe.
And bearing in mind that we've also got the Premier League, which returns on Wednesday, and what you've just talked about just then, progress slowly been made. Obviously, can't take anything for granted. It must keep reiterating that. But it's all adding up to that hope that you've been talking about for weeks, and that keeping that hope. And now, hopefully, we're starting to see things getting to that light at the end of the tunnel that you talked about before. Yeah,
it's fantastic, because we all need, you know, I think we're all at the stage now where football's our living, that you sort of, you need to have that hope. You need to have that feeling again that, you know, it's our living, if you like. And you know, we somebody like myself who's been in it, I don't know, 30 years without a break, 30 odd years. It is your life, and I've never had this long a break before away from football. So, and I know the players are absolutely gagging for you know, to get back into training. they've obviously been doing their own schedule and training on their own, and we've been talking to them about games on the TV and all that sort of thing, asked them to watch certain players if they wanted to. So they're ready now. So it will be, probably another 3 or 4 weeks, and we'll be scratching the walls down to get out and get out on a football pitch together in preparation for the season. And I think that will be the same through all the leagues. The Premiership were lucky enough to have the finances to make sure that everybody was safe, i.e. with the coronavirus tests. I know Lee at Bristol, they've tested them twice a week, every week since they've been back. They've been lucky enough not to have any problems. And most teams don't seem to have any problems. And when they do, they isolate them, don't they, for 14 days, and then they come back. So and there's less and less that's happening to. So it's great. I'm looking forward to the Premiership, but I'm also looking forward to the second division playoffs. Our National League playoffs. I've been in a few playoffs, and I know what it means to people and the feelings that go into those games. And I'm just sorry that this year I'm not in one, but we might have been had it not been for the virus. But we're not, and so I'm just going to enjoy it. And Championship, of course, because I've got that personal interest with Lee at Bristol. So once that starts, then we'll at least be getting our proper football fix.
And like you say, you've been in a number of pre-seasons now. Are you still looking forward and still as excited as you've ever been?
Well, yeah. Don't I sound excited? Yeah, no, I am very much so. And it is something I've always done, and it's something that I need to do. I mean, to be fair, I've worked quite hard in making it. I've had more Zooms than ever. I didn't know what Zoom was before lockdown. Obviously, myself and yourself every week. I've got the column every week. The newspapers want to know all the time what's happening. So there's lots of little bits and pieces that have kept my football brain alert. But now it's funny because I don't know. I told you that I didn't have at 64. You don't have a football in the house, do you? You know what I mean? So, and I just felt one day that I needed to kick a ball about, because I still do a little bit of serving and setting for the lads in training. So I got Russell Cleve to send me a football through the post, sanitised, and I sanitised it when it came in, just to have a ball around and upsetting the neighbours. And they look over the garden fence and they see this 64-year-old kicking a football about. They quite rightly would say, "What the bloody hell is he doing?" Give it a rest, mate. But anyway, so I am really looking forward to it, and I am still very much excited about being in the game still. The minute I lose that, George will be the first to know, and then you'll be the second.
And of course,
I won't lose it for a little while, mate.
No, I don't think you will, Gary. And of course, that football, of course, made its guest appearance on the treadmill. So thankfully, that all ended safely. We will. Well, obviously, there's going to be more to come on these subjects over the next coming weeks and all of that. But we will do our best, as ever, to keep you supporters all updated. But Gary, thank you for joining us again today. And we'll catch up, no doubt, this time again next week.
Yeah, is that it? Have you got somewhere to go?
No, not.
Just kidding, mate. Just kidding. Don't steady. You've been away too long.
Yeah, I don't want anyone to be sent to sleep with the tone of my voice. So, in the meantime, guys, we'll part as we always do. Take care, keep safe, and we'll see you all again very, very soon.